Caleb Williams, as great as he was, especially late in games, completed about 58.5% of his throws. I've always felt the number that I need you to be at, even if you're, but I'll give you a little bit of leeway if you're like Cam Newton talented or Caleb, is like 61.5, 62. And I think there are a lot of people that believe going from 58 to 63, it's not that many completions. But I also think that Caleb is so unique and so powerful, so much turbo. How do you bake in easy completions? Is it just as easy as Ben Johnson coaching, more underneath routes? Because games dictate routes and play calls. When you hear that we got to get him, Ben said we got to get him closer to 70%. And I'm like, that's not who Caleb Williams is. What would be a realistic number for his style, for his skill level and Ben's offense?
Well, it's hard for me to give you a number because it's not about the number. It's about accuracy. Yeah, and so like when you give me, like you could have a high number. I'll just tell you what it's like in a quarterback room. Okay. You could have a complete completion and get a plus or a minus on your grade sheet in the quarterback room. And there's something called a runner's ball. And so it could be a completion, but if it wasn't a runner's ball, you get a minus. It's a negative. And what is a runner's ball? A runner's ball is, this is how you evaluate it. If a wide receiver is running a route and he has to change his gait at all, change his running gait, that's a minus. Now, there are some situations where it's a back shoulder throw and you want to put it on the 8, not the 4, and all that kind of stuff. But typically, it's about being a runner's ball. So this idea of a 65% is this and 70% is that, I think that can be misleading. Now, I will say this about Caleb. He improved in all the areas that I really felt like he needed to improve in: leadership, body language, big time throws, play action was a huge part of what he did last year that was so good. Clutch, like all that stuff, the hard stuff he did well. The accuracy, I would think that for all NFL quarterbacks, you can hit the open guy. You can give him runner's balls more than he did last year. Receivers will like it. Ben Johnson will like it. And that's, I think, what this team needs to take it to the next level. And certainly in Caleb's, he's the guy with the solution. He's got the opportunity to be the change.
Yes. Thank you, Matt Hasselbeck. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. The whole plus-minus concept, you should definitely look into it. This was from last season. Kurt Warner went through something similar. I think it was actually a J.J. McCarthy versus Caleb Williams game, if memory serves me correctly. Might have been week 1. I think it was probably week 1. He posted his plus-minus analysis, his entire breakdown. Essentially what Matt Hasselbeck is talking about. And I'm pretty sure he follows it up in the comments section, explaining a bit more about what all of this means. So it's not just about completion percentage. It's not just the raw, bottom-line completion percentage. It's exactly what Matt brought up. And it's also just that Caleb was missing genuine easy throws. He was missing legitimate layups, and too many of them. And with too many of these layups, this is where I talk about scheme. This is where, with yards after catch and what Matt calls a runner's ball, there is an overlap between when YAC is scheme-driven and when it's quarterback-driven. Like Matt said, I expect quarterbacks to be able to make certain throws, the throws that Caleb needs to make. So ultimately, when you have a great coach who can truly scheme guys open in a way that if they get a runner's ball, they'll be able to take off, right? That is what Andy Reid does. That is what Kyle Shanahan does. That is what these great coaches do. That's what Liam Cohen has done very well. And Samedi. It really falls on the quarterback's shoulders to simply not mess that up. To just not screw it up. Caleb had too many moments where he was messing that up. Where he would have these minus plays or just flat out miss the throw entirely. And actually, the Commanders game really highlighted that as well. It really showed where it's just like, dude, you're off to the races here. There was one incompletion he missed that would have been like a 75-yard touchdown. The receiver would still be running right now. He'd still be running. And that's the kind of stuff that Ben Johnson is looking at and thinking, I'm setting this up for you. I'm putting this on a silver platter for you. That's why it's like, if we can get this done, if you can start making these completions, if you can deliver a cleaner, more accurate ball, not only in the way Hasselbeck is describing, but also just eliminate the straight-up misses altogether, then everything just goes through the roof. It goes through the roof. And it's pretty ironic because I had said that about Jared Goff, since I always push the narrative that YAC is more coach-dependent, more scheme-dependent, rather than quarterback-dependent, which I stand by. But I always said that when you look at Jared Goff, you can see that he delivers such a perfectly accurate ball to someone like Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's running full speed ahead. You can see that he is an example of why you could push back on that argument, on the idea that it's completely just a coach-driven stat. And it's funny considering that's where Ben Johnson obviously was at his best with Jared Goff in Detroit. Not to say he won't be at his best with the Bears, but, you know, longer runway, obviously. So it's just like, if Caleb can reach that level, that's why I keep emphasizing that it feels like it's just game over. It's game over. And this is why I really encourage people to listen to the commentary. Listen to what they're saying, especially when it's Troy Aikman, Chris Collinsworth, Tom Brady, the real guys out there. Greg Olsen. There were too many times when you'd hear them say, Caleb, you have to be able to make that throw. And I like it because it's in real time. It's not all 22 film later on. It's in real time, where you feel the emotion of the moment. You remember exactly where you were at that point in the game. It's all happening live. You get a strong sense of what the other team just did on their last drive, whether they scored or whether it was an interception, whatever it may be. And there were just too many moments when it was like, you've got to be able to make that throw. And I showed you guys the clip recently of Collinsworth pointing that out in the playoff game against the Los Angeles Rams, where it's just like, you have to be able to make that throw. That's what it's about. It's not just, oh, he's got to get a higher completion percentage. Even Colin was being weird because he said, how do you get Caleb more layups? How do? Yes, that work? The layups are there for Caleb. The layups are absolutely, positively there. He was missing them. And the layups that he did sometimes complete, they were delivered in a way where it might be a 3-yard gain rather than a 10-yard gain because of how the ball was thrown. So again, I think Hasselbeck really emphasized that and illustrated it pretty perfectly. And what's annoying about this conversation, because we talked about this a little bit over the weekend, people keep bringing up, well, what about the dropped passes? What about the dropped passes? Even with the dropped passes, Caleb's accuracy was too low. It was bottom in the NFL when you use adjusted completion percentage, when you remove all dropped passes. He was not accurate enough. He knows it, and Ben Johnson knows it. We don't have to keep making excuses for it. Ben Johnson literally said, I put together an entire film session of just all the balls that Caleb needs to be more accurate with. He's not saying, well, it's just lots of dropped passes, so nothing to do but keep at it. And Caleb knows it too. That's why Caleb got angry at that net drill. And listen, I defended that net drill, but he still knows he needs to be more accurate. He knows he needs to be better. He knows it. He's already putting in the work on it. So we don't have to make excuses about it. And so I love what Matt said about bringing you into the film room to say, listen, not all completions are equal. Not all incompletions are equal. The whole plus-minus concept, that's why the turnover-worthy play is very much the, I don't want to say the modern-day statistic, but the more explicitly tracked statistic that is an extension of the plus-minus, of grading throws. It's just like, yeah, you didn't get an interception there, but you certainly could have. You certainly should have. And we would have lost the game if that corner had actually just held on to the ball. You don't sweep that stuff under the rug. That's not how coaching works. That's not how you get better. So I think these end up being good problems to have because it's not misleading. No one is confused about what Caleb needs to do in order to improve. Neither is Ben Johnson. Everyone is on the same page. Everyone understands what needs to be done. And like Matt said, and this is what I've been saying, it's in Caleb's hands. And if Caleb gets it done, I firmly believe you essentially have a historically great offense. And if you have a historically great offense, then you're within striking distance of being a historically great team. And if you're a historically great team, you're within striking distance of winning 1, 2, or 3 Super Bowls. So the stakes could not be any higher. If Caleb can start to run and execute the offense at the level of Jared Goff, this team takes off because then you combine all the other stuff that Caleb can do that Jared Goff cannot. That's why I keep saying, and I'll keep saying it, if you do that, yo. You become the next version of what Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs have been. That seems pretty good, right? Lots of Super Bowls, lots of glory, lots of wins, lots of insane moments. It's a pretty good thing. All you have to do is run and execute the offense at a higher level than last season. And it's really just delivering the ball more accurately. Which is again such a better problem to have than simply not seeing the field, making the wrong read, or leaving the pocket too soon, which he's done a bit. Again, Tom Brady pointed it out, I think, beautifully against the Packers. He talked about how you're cutting the field in half unnecessarily. Again, we can talk about some of the commentary and say, oh, Collinsworth loves Mahomes, or whatever. But in real time, I think we are so lucky. Listen, I watch a lot of other sports, basketball, Formula 1, baseball. You don't always get high-quality analysis in real time. The NFL, I'm telling you right now, we are spoiled with the immediate, in the moment, game day, as soon as the play happens analysis from Olsen, Brady, Romo. I'm not saying it's always the most entertaining, always perfect, or that they never mess up. But you get great thoughts in real time. You really do. And I would just encourage people not to automatically disagree just because you want to in that moment. When Tom Brady talks about Caleb leaving the pocket too soon and cutting the field in half, it's like, probably something we should listen to and think about for a second. When Collinsworth says, you have to be able to make that throw. You can't miss that throw, and Greg Olsen says the same thing in a completely different game, these are the throws you have to be able to make right now if you want to truly be great, those things have to count for something in real time. And when we're trying to figure out how great Caleb can be and how great this Bears team can be, it doesn't do anyone any good to just pretend that stuff doesn't matter and emphasize other things that are out of Caleb's hands, like dropped passes. That's not what you do as a competitor. That's not what you do as an athlete. I've played with people who always want to make excuses about someone else or something else. If only he did this, if only he did that, then I would have been better, then I would have won. And I promise you, that's not what Tom Brady is doing. That's not what Patrick Mahomes is doing. That's not what Josh Allen is doing. None of them are just sitting there saying, if only they did that. They're taking it upon themselves. It's why those guys are often so depressed, so intense, and so exhausting, because they're just taking responsibility for every single thing that happens, again and again. And it's exhausting, and it's not the path to happiness. The path to happiness is recognizing the difference between what you can change and what's in your control versus what's out of your control. That's a core value, let go, let God, whether you want to approach it religiously, spiritually, whatever. Some of this stuff is out of my control. But in order to be truly great, you have to kind of look at it as if everything is in your control. And again, it's exhausting and it doesn't lead to happiness, but it certainly can lead to success. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Caleb Williams? What his expectations are in year 2 with Ben Johnson? What he needs to do to be a better quarterback to elevate this offense? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get into some discussions. Let's get into some debates. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. Please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you be a part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be a part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It really does help with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.